In this tutorial, I'm going to show you guys my complete retouching from start to finish. So hi guys, welcome back to a new Photoshop tutorial. My name is Manny and you can find me on our Facebook page at Retutpro. In today's tutorial, I'm literally going to show you guys a 1-hour Photoshop tutorial from start to finish, retouching this whole car image from scratch. So basically you guys are going to learn tons of new stuff. Most probably levels and curves, you know about that, but we're going to work with comping stuff, a lot of masks, a lot of different brush techniques. Then as well, we're going to work with shadows, dodge and burn, we're going to comp and sand, we're going to work with color grades, creating flares from scratch, as well as overall color grade, working on windows from cars, doing gradients on cars. There's so much stuff. Anyways, let's get right into it. Let's go. Okay, so as you guys can see, I've already imported the image again into Photoshop as you have it down here under basic. So this is already my first start now and basically how to get out of camera. Obviously this is also shot with flash, as you guys can see here in the front, especially on this side. So I guess the flash went boom right against the car here, and maybe you had a second flash as well over here illuminating this a little bit. So let me create a new layer quickly down here. I'm just going to rename this to help layer and point out a few things that I want to retouch. Okay, so this is going to be a super long tutorial, guys. I'm going to go and change our new foreground color to red or something. I'm also going to try to rush a bit this. Okay, so I've got red foreground color and I just want to point out a few things. The shadow, for instance, over here, shadow, I want to take that out completely and create a complete new shadow and new ground, because this is going to look, or it's looking not as good at the moment, and it also doesn't suit the image so much. So I think if we add in a new shadow, that will help as well. We're also going to create a complete new foreground here with the sand. So I'm going to add in sand from the back here. Okay, this sand and maybe this sand a little bit, just adding and filling that up. Okay, let's also switch foreground colors again, maybe a yellow something, okay. And I will also have to work a little bit here on this side of the car. It does look a little bit dark, so I'm going to brighten that up a little bit over here. We're going to work a little bit on the windows, just roughly. Then as well, obviously we're going to do loads of dodge and burn again on this image. We're also going to do some color grades and also contrast, a little bit of some highlights. And also lastly, I'm going to do again a little bit of a sun flare effect over here. So basically sun or something with a nice flare coming here overall, giving the overall image just a nice orange tint, and that will also suit the overflow, whatever you want to call this, just the grade going from orange into lighter, so it will just help the image to pop a little bit more. Okay, so that's roughly my ideas as well that I want to do. And lastly, let's just take maybe pink or something. I want to do a nice crop, so something, okay, that's a weird crop, something like this, just cropping off there, and maybe over here just literally cropping and making this a little bit smaller, something like this. Let's have a look. We'll see later how that will end out. So literally just cropping everything again. Okay, so these are my ideas. Let's get started with it. So first of all, help layer, we can actually delete it now. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer, and first of all going to copy this area over here. So basically what I want to do now is sample this area and actually put this little piece of sand in over here, over here, over here, and this little gap over here. So basic is my first layer. I'm going to duplicate that, Command J, and I'm going to turn this off in case I mess up with this layer, or whatever I mess up, I always have my backup here so I can fall back on the basic. I'm just going to rename this to 1. As well, take the lasso tool. We can also switch our foreground colors here back to black and white. I'm just going to hit on the little button here. Okay, great. So I'm going to go to lasso tool and literally just make a really rough selection over here, somewhere around, I don't want to have the car and no shadow, just literally the sand over here. Okay, so I made a selection around this, going to press Command C and Command V, duplicate paste that, and already we have layer number 1. As well, I'm going to create a group right away so I don't get distracted and I have everything a little bit sorted here. So I'm going to press Command G just to create a group, and I'm just going to write here sand. So this is basically like a little sand group, just building sand. Okay, we've got layer 1. First of all, I can move layer 1 around, but I obviously don't want to put it like this in. I want to actually transform it and swap it around. So I'm going to go to edit, say transform over here, and we're going to go to flip horizontally. Okay, whoop, that will flip, and we can actually just move it all the way in here. So I'm going to put the first one right into here. Then as well, I'm going to do a duplicate once again. No, but before I do that, I actually wanted to create a hidden mask on this, or basically let's just do a normal mask for the start. So hit the mask icon down here. You guys will see we get a mask now. Now we can press Command J. The reason why I also did this is so I don't need to go all the way and double tap here again, new mask, etc. I'm going to press Command J, and there you guys get to see it now. So there we already have a mask. I'm going to place this somewhere over here. Okay, maybe not too far. And as well do the same again, Command J, and put this guy over here as well. Okay, maybe a little bit closer. Let's have a look. We can still move stuff around and brush on the mask. Okay, and one last one. And this one I'm going to put over here again, but this time I'm going to flip it again, so back again, transform, flip horizontally again. Okay, so something like this. I'm going to move it a bit closer, then I can take the second or the third one actually, move it up a bit. So again, let's rename those quickly, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, great. Now we've got all of those. I'm going to switch off all of them and start working on the first one. Let's zoom in a little bit closer. So basically just trying to build now new sand and a new ground here for the car. So basically building it under the car. And press B for the brush. As well, I'm working with a Vacuum Continuous 5 Pro tablet, so I'm able to change my brush via my wheel really quickly here. Or I can also hold Control Alt, go left and right. That will change the brush size as well. You can also use the brackets and up and down. So that will obviously make it smaller or bigger. Then as well, I can go up and down with the mouse as well, just to feather this a little bit. So basically meaning if I go up, it will change the hardness. If I go down, it will change the hardness again. So I'm going to change my hardness now to say 30%. And literally just with a black foreground color, 100% opacity here from the top. I'm going to brush this out. Okay, I'm just going to brush roughly over here, a little bit further. I also want to get away of this. So I'm going to make my brush a little bit bigger now. As you guys can see, it's still feathered, like around 30%. So I can literally just brush in here. Also going to go roughly over here, around the wheel. And let's do it roughly over here, and then we paint it back in carefully. Okay, so what I'm going to do is press B again, brush, or I'm still in the brush. Okay, just X, foreground color, switch those. Make your brush a little bit smaller, and I'm also going to zoom in a little bit closer. And I'm literally just going a bit closer in now over here, and trying to just brush that back in. My brush is still feathered quite a lot. Okay, there we're getting the original shadow, or some weird shadow here, which I don't really want. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, well, just brush like that. I'm going to switch again foreground colors with X. Also change the opacity maybe just to 50%. Okay, and now brushing that back again. So literally trying to make a little soft gradient in here. And I'm just fading over the edge here. Okay, a little bit under the car. Now obviously we have a lot of yellow light here, so I do want to get this nice yellow light. We're going to work later as well with that. Trying to get rid of this big shadow reflection here. And don't worry about color and grades and everything now. We're still going to work on this. Okay, I'm going to make the shadow a bit come through from the car. As well, going down here a little bit. Now we're going to clean up all of this. I'm going to go a few times over the wheel. This little thing here. Okay, I'm going to make my brush really big because I don't want to paint now with the center. I want to paint with the outside of the brush. Let me move over a little bit so you guys can actually see where the brush will end. Somewhere over here. So I'm literally just painting a little bit. Okay, a little bit further, making the brush a bigger again. And a few taps. Okay, so I'm pretty happy already with that. Later we're going to obviously add another shadow on top, so it's going to look more real. Okay, a little bit over. Okay, zoom out again. That's already our first step. As well over here, have a look on the right hand side. If that all looks a little bit real, we can still brush in a little bit here, a few details. Okay, that's obviously the shadow already coming through there from the car. So X again, foreground color, switch again. And I'm just brushing a little bit back here, tap. Okay, let's also move over to the next one. So I'm going to select the second layer over here, again the brush. Okay, so second layer is on. Now I'm going to move over a little bit, and we're also going to do exactly the same process with our second layer. On the mask again, black foreground color, just switch it literally over here, or X, and then I'm going to paint with 100% opacity, and I'm going to brush all over this, and literally just brush out roughly again. So we had a lot of detail again. Let me just create another help layer quickly. I'm going to go move it all the way to the top. We had a lot of detail here previously. So obviously around, say the previous one we had over here around the wheel. So all of this is actually getting rid of that already. So we can actually move this complete layer a little bit over. So I'm going to move it a bit. See, I don't want to get this kind of shadow here at the back. I don't want to have this. So I'm getting rid of this. I just want to get this little piece over here. Okay, so let's take layer 2 over here. Move that a little bit more down. Also a little bit over here. Okay, let's have a look. I always like to move the layer away, have a look at the background here, and then I move it back in a little bit closer. Okay, great. Something like that. Okay, I'm going to take the brush again as well, just make my brush a bit bigger, and I'm literally just continuing to paint that out. All out over here, and roughly around the wheel as we did earlier, and this we're going to do rough as well. And then here as well. Okay, now let's switch X, foreground colors again. Now we're going to paint back. So B with brush, I'm going to work, say, just with 50% opacity at the moment. And literally just brush this in a little bit. So a few taps over here, trying to build the ground here a little bit. Okay, I'm going to go also over the wheel now, in order to have it all there. Maybe a little bit over here. Okay, let's build the ground in here. Switch again with foreground color. So I'm basically painting in, painting out, painting in, painting out. Okay. X foreground colors again. Switch that. I'm also going to go a little bit deeper here under the car. And there already we have our cutoff here. So X, we're going to fix this little cutoff here. Okay, just tap, 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 going all the way around. And again, as you guys can see, I'm not painting in the center of the brush, just with the outside. So literally just tap, 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 tap. Okay, so make it a little bit bigger, the brush. And as well, I'm going to work just maybe with 40% opacity to get a bit of that shadow again coming through. There's also a bit of a flare here and a bit of a green colored tint from the actual shot. So let's see how we can work with that. Okay, a little bit further. Okay, now I'm going to go to the car again, 100% opacity. So switch it up, or 00 on the keyboard. Zoom it a bit closer. B for the brush again, and I'm literally just painting over here. And to make my life a little bit easier, I'm actually going to hide this layer. Press P for the pen tool, and as well just create a little path over here. If you guys are not familiar how to work with the pen tool, we also have a few, actually one free tutorial where I'm teaching you guys how to work with the pen tool. So have a look at that as well, if you don't know how to work with this tool. Okay, great. So I'm going to just literally go up a little bit and yeah, combine this path over here. Just close it again, press right click, make a selection and say zero feathering. Yes, I'm going to turn on this layer again, and on the mask with B brush, black foreground color, I can now literally 100% opacity just brush this out quickly. So I've got the wheel out, but I'm still missing obviously this little bit of the detail here with the shadow. So press Command D, get out of the selection. If I'm going to zoom out, you guys will see that what's happening now. It does look too fake over here because it's too clean, the edge. So that's what I just talked about. I'm going to press B again for brush, make my brush a little bit bigger, not 100% opacity, maybe just around 50%, and not painting with the inside, just with the feathered brush. I'm literally just tap, tap, tap again here around to get a bit of that detail again. So it's actually the real ground there. Okay. And bear in mind now, this is not going to be a high quality print at the end. This is just for a small magazine cover, not even cover, just the inside of a magazine. So it's not going to be printed like super huge where you guys are going to see the details. So that's why I'm also retouching like that. Otherwise, this will most probably have to be reshot. Okay, so let's also zoom a little bit closer. I'm going to take layer 3 now again, and also do exactly the same effect. We can actually take the opacity down a bit, so we can actually see where the ground will go. Yeah, somewhere over here again. So I'm actually going to turn the opacity up again from that layer. Okay, V tool, and let's move around a little bit. Okay, somewhere over here. I'm going to actually leave it a bit further in. Switch the layer off, switch it on. Okay, great. This time I'm going to do a different step. I'm actually going to invert this complete layer because I don't want to paint out everything. So I'm going to press Command I on the mask here. So Command I, that will hide everything. B for the brush again. White foreground color this time, 100% opacity. And we're literally just brushing in this area over here, underneath the car, getting rid of this complete shadow over here. And it actually suited the image because now it looks like we've got a little hole in here. If I'm going to turn off everything, you guys can also see there is a hole. So just because of flipping the image, it also does look now like there's a hole over here. No, actually I'm talking nonsense. This is the actual photo. Sorry, but if I'm going to go brush a little bit further, you will see it now. Now it also looks like a hole. Okay, let's also brush this out a little bit. Okay, so literally this is our new ground. Okay, we can also brush this a little bit further, so we're combining this ground as well. Okay, something like this. Okay, again, brush. I'm also going to take the opacity maybe just to 50% again. Just press 5 on the keyboard. Make my brush a little bit bigger. I also want to check my featherness again, so I'm going to press Control Alt. And yeah, let's feather it completely. So hardness around, say, 30% again. A little bit lower. I'm going to take the brush to this size. Okay, switch foreground colors. X, black. I want to get a bit more shadow here. Okay, then again, I'm going to work now on layer 4. Again, switch it on. Again, we're going to invert this. Command I on the mask. B for brush. White foreground color, 100% opacity. So 00 on the keyboard. And I'm literally just going to fix this little dot here. Great. Okay, we can actually work a little bit more around this. Tap, tap, tap. Yeah, and that's almost all that I'm actually going to do. It's just let's zoom out again. And have a look. It's not the best ground I could have created, but for the tutorial I think it's good enough so far. Let's also switch on this group again. I want to do and work a little bit more here on this little edge here. So I'm going to go back to the mask, B for brush again. Let's just take 20% opacity. Make the brush a little bit bigger again, and I'm literally just swap foreground colors. I'm literally just going to tap, tap, tap a little bit in here. Again, painting with the outside brush, not in the center, so literally outside like this. Okay, tap, 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 just all the way around as well here. Okay, and also going to work on the next step. That was over here, and I still have a little bit from the mask here actually. So I want to get rid of that. 00, I'm just correcting again. So here's before and after, before and after. There's also a little dot over here, correcting that. Okay, great. Next one over here. Okay, and we can actually fix this a bit. So let's zoom in here. We can also fix these little points later as well. B for the brush again. Okay, switch foreground colors, and I'm going to pick around 50% opacity again. I'm just literally hitting here on the keyboard, so it's a little bit quicker. Okay, and that will be tough with the shadow as well. Okay, make the brush a little bit bigger, and I'm literally just tapping slowly over here. So I have to create a new shadow as well for this. Okay, a little bit, and we still have a bit of shadow from underneath. Okay, switch with foreground colors X, and I'm literally just brushing a little bit out. So again with 50%. Okay, zoom out again, and that's for now how I'm going to leave it. Okay, so that's obviously now our whole sand group over here, before and after, before and after. Now I'm still going to work a little bit on the sand group. I'm first of all going to go to adjustments and create a new saturation and also contrast adjustment layer. So first of all, curves. And the curves also layer adjustment here. I don't want to let this affect all images, so layers. So I'm basically going to clip this as well. First of all, drag the contrast down a bit just to see how that would strongly will affect my image. I'm also going to go and hold Alt, go between the layers, and now only clip this adjustment layer to this group. So again, if I'm going to push it all the way down, you will see it only affects this little group there. Press Command Z, go step back. I want to see if I push up my shadow parts a little bit, make them a little bit lighter. Okay, that we're also going to do after all. Push up the highlights a little bit. Okay, and the saturation goes up quite a lot. So back to adjustments, back to hue and saturation. Again, also Alt, go between the layers so this clips again to the first adjustment layer and then as well the sand group. Back to the hue and saturation, I'm going to go into the masters and literally just take down the masters a little bit. So somewhere minus 13 or something. Okay, take all of this with shift again, the last two adjustment layers and as well the sand group, press Command G, and I'm going to write here sand once again. We can open this and take sand group number 1, and I'm just going to write maybe sand 1. This is totally up to you. You guys can also rename it to whatever you like. Okay, so sand 1 over here. Now what I'm also going to do is go and turn off everything from sand. I'm basically going to go back to 1, press P for the pen tool, zoom a little bit closer, and I want to create a nice path here just for the shadow. So roughly creating a shadow over here, or path. Okay, going around the car. Again, if you don't know how to work with this tool, have a look. I created a free tutorial there for you guys. Okay, all the way around. Let's also take this area. I'm going to go around the wheel. Somewhere like this. And a bit further. So this is basically also just the step of cleaning up and building an image, and then later I'm going to concentrate more on color grades and all that stuff. Okay, a little hint here. I'm already going a little bit too far here. There's obviously no shadow. We have a bit of light coming through from the back, so at this point is already too far. So I'm going to select it, just go backspace, and I'm just going to go to here, and then create over here, create a little bit of a round curve in there. Okay, and I'm not working exactly perfectly here on the shadow. Just roughly trying to create something here. A little bit further as well. Somewhere over here. Okay. Zoom out as well. I'm going to press P for pen tool again and just literally just completing this path. Okay, so we have a nice path now. I'm going to hit right click, say make a selection first, and first of all I'm going to say zero feathering, but we afterwards still going to blur it, the shadow, so don't worry. Otherwise, normally I would feather this as well. I'm going to hit OK to get a selection first of all. Then I'm going to press or select the marking tool over here. Hit right click and say save the selection over here. Save selection, and we're going to hit here maybe just shadow. Okay, that's the shadow, and the reason why I've saved it now, maybe I need to go and get it back later at some stage, or want to add something, then I've at least got it and I don't need to create another path. Okay, great. So we have our shadow selection now. I'm going to go and create a new layer down here. Move that over the sand group. Also, we can just rename this to shadow, maybe shadow 2 or shadow 1, whatever. Then I'm also going to press M for marking tool, right click, and say fill this up with a complete black color here. That's why I also created a new group. So we're affecting this on a new group. Sorry, new layer. Okay. Press Command D, get out of the selection. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and as you guys can see, the shadow is completely hard, right? The edge here. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to go to filter, we're going to go to blur, Gaussian blur, and now we're going to blur this shadow a little bit. So 3.7 is a little bit too low. I'm actually going to take it up all the way, say 30%. Yeah, we can actually push it a little bit further, 40%. Okay, something like that. Great. I'm going to hit OK. And now also going to take down the shadow opacity. So literally let's just take it to maybe 20%. Also we have to turn on the shadow group here. Sorry, the sand group. Okay, sand group, getting confused here. Shadow group as well. Let's turn up the opacity a little bit from our shadow. And that looks a bit tough though. So it's a bit of a new playing thing here, more shadow. Let's take the shadow down a little bit again. So I'm trying to build an awesome shadow that will actually suit the overall image. Okay, so I'm going to take layer 1 as well. This was just a help layer that we can actually delete. Let's just create a group here so I know this is around the shadow stuff. Okay, so shadow over here. Now I'm going to go back and work overall on the complete image. So I'm going to go back to adjustments here and create a curves adjustment layer. And I'm just going to take my dark parts over here, brighten them up a little bit, and take the curve here in the center, darken this overall a little bit. So we're getting a nice contrast overall, and also on the car a little bit, and pushing the highlights a little bit again so the car pops a bit. So I'm doing this layer now because I wanted to really get a feel what the overall whole adjustment will look like, and once I'm done, what it can look like. So again, just so it's easier for me to work through this. So before and after, before and after. Okay, what I want to do now on this group as well is just lighten this small little area here from the car, and as well apply this more or less just to the ground. So what I'm going to do is press Command I, invert this complete group, press B for the brush, select a white foreground color. And by the way, you guys noticed it already, most probably, I love masks. It's just so easy working with those. Okay, so I'm literally just with my white foreground color, 100% opacity, brushing just the foreground here, and also the sand. Okay, a little bit more. And this area looks a bit intense still over here. Maybe I'm still gonna work a little bit on this. Okay, so literally just applied a little bit of shadow and contrast here to the city, and a little bit to the car. Let's also paint this in over here. Okay, we're still going to work later just on the horizon and also a little bit on the mountains and all of that. Okay, so again, before and after. Okay, let's also quickly work a little bit on this. I'm not too happy yet with this. So what I'm going to do is turn off everything again, take the layer 1 and also lasso tool again from the start, and literally just making a rough selection around this. Okay, Command Z again, Command V, duplicate paste this. We're going to open the sand group, sand 1 over here. Let me just make this a bit bigger. We're going to drag this all the way to the top, maybe actually over here, because this is the layer, as you guys still remember, layer 1 over here. We're going to add this on top. So again, make this layer 0. I'm going to leave this to 1. Create also a normal mask on that, and I'm going to move this just down a bit. Also press Command T to just transform this a little bit. I'm going to hold Shift, make this a little bit bigger. Okay, something like that. Great. Okay, I'm going to accept this now, and as well brush on this. So let's also just invert it again, the mask. Select the mask first of all. Command I, B for the brush, white foreground color, 100% opacity. And I'm literally just brushing this in a bit more over here and going a little bit deeper on some areas. Okay, also press 50%, so I want to fade this out a little bit. X again, foreground color, so I'm literally just brushing in some of the darker parts here. Okay, and just brushing, painting a bit over this. Okay, swap again. Okay, something like that. Okay, turn off all the rest again. I'm going to zoom out again a little bit. Okay, I have to admit it's not the best, but it works for the tutorial at the moment. Let's also put the shadow on. Okay. And we also have a duplicated area over here. So I'm going to go back again into the sand group, also on layer 1. Press S for clone stamp tool. And I'm literally just clone stamping away a bit of this. Also selecting layer 1, and I'm actually clone stamping right on the actual image. So just literally trying to get a bit of rid of that patterns here. Okay. Then also going to close sand group again, sand over here, shadow, we have that, then we have an overall adjustment so far. And now what I'm also going to do is we'll just work a little bit here on the car itself. So we're going to go all the way to the top and just go zoom a little bit closer, and we want to clean up the car a little bit. So there's not too much affecting now the car. Also bear in mind, I'm still going to build a bit later here on the shadow and just trying to get a nicer ground as well. Zoom a little bit closer. I'm going to press J for healing brush tool, and as well I actually want to work on all the layers, so it's going to say current layer at the moment. I have to create a new layer over here, and I'm just writing here healing. Okay, and we can work not on the current layer, we have to say all layers, so it's actually affecting all layers underneath. Zoom in a bit closer, J for healing brush tool, make the brush a little bit bigger, hold Alt, sample an area very close by, and now literally I'm just cleaning up the car on a few spots here and just trying to make the reflections a little bit nicer. And overall taking out a bit of those weird reflections here. Okay, also over here, hold Alt, clean this up. So this also was shot outside, so it's not too heavy. Studio is sometimes a little bit more trickier and more complicated with the reflections. Okay, as well down here a little bit. So it's literally just cleaning up the car a bit. Okay, here's a big reflection from the softbox. It's actually a small softbox, as you guys can see it. Okay, a little bit more. Okay, also this piece here, so I'm going to just take the pen tool and just make a nice curve around here. Okay, and close the path, make a selection. Okay, J for healing brush, and literally just brush in the selected area. Sorry, heal. Okay, press Command D, we still have a bit of here. Okay, a little bit further. Over here. Okay, let's zoom over the image. There's a dot, so this is really small things actually. Whoops, that was a bit too quick. Over here we have a big spot. So I'm going to clone exactly from this area over here and paste it over there. So click Alt, select this area, and I'm literally just taking one big brush. Okay, this is tricky. Yep, just be careful with it. Okay, let's go over the car as well here from the top again. We have a few spots. Literally make this smaller. Okay, and heal all these areas. And I guess you guys already know about all the healing process and cloning. This is not something new. There's a little dot. Okay, I want to fix this little area over here. Pen tool, P. Literally just going to make a rough round selection like this. Again, hold Alt, take the last anchor point over here, move it a bit back, so we're actually moving in the new direction with the path. And we can actually make a path over here, create a nice curve. Great, okay, just combining the path, completing it, making a selection, zero feathering. Now I'm going to clone a little bit. So S for clone stamp tool, brush a little bit smaller, hold Alt, select this area, and I'm literally just, with one big stroke, just brushing over this. Whoops, that is a step too far. Okay, Command D, we get a nice round soft edge here. As well, this is a bit hard here, I should have feathered it a little bit further. So I'm going to just take the smudge tool and literally just brush over this once with the smudge tool. Okay, once more. It's a bit softer now, a bit blurry. Okay, zooming out. Okay, great. So now we have retouched a bit on this car. Here are a few more dots. J again, healing brush tool. Literally just this. Okay, and you guys can go ahead and also, once you do something like this, you can, for all these little areas here, always create like a little path. Fix up this little dot over here with the reflection. Make a selection, zero feathering. J healing brush tool. Literally just brush over this. Okay, Command D, and let's zoom over some other spots. Here is, I don't want to take out the whole reflection here from the mirror, just literally a little bit. Okay, just a big white dot, making the edge a bit soft. And this big piece here. Okay, so it does suit it if we still have a bit of shadow in here. Okay, zoom out again. Yeah, it's a bit smudgy now, so take a bit more time than I do and do this properly. Okay, as well over here. Okay, I do love the whole reflection here in the car from the sand, just makes it more real. And a little bit from the city and stuff. So the window still, over here is still a little dot. Okay, really small peeping pixel areas. The reason why I also do this is just because I pay more attention to detail. This just makes the image overall later pop a bit more and looks really good. Can you guys see this little area over here? I want to retouch this as well. So what I'll do is get in P for pen tool, and first of all create a really nice soft edge over here. So somewhere in like this. Okay, trying to create a path over here as well, taking the last anchor point again and moving it straight over like this. Yeah, and just trying to create as well a nice round path. Okay, let's just fill this up. Okay, and complete the path. Right click, make a selection, zero feathering at the moment. And now what I'm going to do is press clone stamp tool, make the brush a little bit smaller. I'm still keeping it feathered, the brush. Hold Alt, and I'm literally just brushing in this spot over here. Okay, and I want to get rid of this little area in the corner, so I'm going to hit right click with marking tool. So first of all select marking tool, right click, say select inverse, so we're basically working on the outside now, not in the center here. Okay, clone stamp tool. I'm going to zoom a little bit closer. No, that's a bit too far. Zoom a bit closer over here, and we're just going to work this little area. Clone stamp tool, a little bit smaller, hold Alt, and I'm just going to sample this area over here. Again, zoom out. Okay, and that's just a little bit cleaner. Command D, get out of the selection, and that looks just a little bit rounder and a little bit cleaner. The same, you could do that obviously now with everything that you can see here on the image. So obviously this line, making this line really nice, and I don't want to go too deep now. This tutorial is just going to get way too long for this. I would spend some time, create a really nice path up until maybe somewhere here. Then make this line really a nice hard edgy line, so also filling it up with black. Yeah, and then also cleaning it up the same as I did earlier just around here. That will just make the whole car look way more better and jump and pop again a bit more. Okay, but what I want to do now as well is also work a bit here just on the overall lightness of the car. So this is a bit dark here. So again, if we would have had a nice line here at the back, that would also help quite a lot. Oops, that's a bit too intense, the curve here. Okay, a little bit more. Okay, I'm just doing a rough path actually. Something like that. Okay, command, fill it up, right click, make a selection, zero feathering please. As well, I'm also going to save the selection, M marking tool, right click, and I'm going to say save selection over here, and we're just going to write here car side or something. You guys can obviously rename that again to whatever you like to. Car side, okay. And I'm going to create a new empty layer, B for the brush, white foreground color. Okay, swap foreground color, and just with the brush as well, 50% opacity, we can start out with that. Just brightening the car a bit. Let's actually make it 100% opacity. It's always easier, then I can just take it up again. Down again with the opacity from the layer. Command D. Okay, zoom out, and we're actually just going to try something. Let's take this all the way down. Okay, and we do have like this really hard edge on here, so I'm going to go and blur this. Blur, Gaussian blur, and just this time not so hard, maybe just a lower, say 4%. I'm going to type 4 here, 4 pixels. Okay, let's also make this a little bit harder so we can actually see, so it's a little bit softer. You could also achieve that if you just do with the pen tool and feather that already. Okay, just brighten that up a bit. We can also try to do that with the dodge and burn process. It's a bit too bright though. A little bit more down, 3%. Okay, so next step I also want to do now in order just for the car. First of all, let's just work a little bit with on the car just with some dodge and burning. So again, I'm going to put this healing and curves group, that's still for the sand, healing in layer 1. This is just lighten the car side or something. I'm going to put both of these groups, Command G, and just write here car for the start. Also, I'm going to create a new empty layer, which I'm going to do work with dodge and burn now. So press Command A, select everything, marking tool, right click, and I'm going to fill this again, yeah, just with 50% gray. Okay, Command D, and also switch Now to soft light, I think overlay is just a little bit too hard for the blue color, so I'm not going to work with overlay. It's rather soft light blending option. Okay, zoom in a bit closer. And now this is, I'm just going to show it to you guys on one little area here. I'm not going to do it for every single area, but you guys can do this. It's a pretty cool technique for dodge and burning on cars. Again, pen tool, and I'm literally going along the way here with this, say this dark area here of the car, of the bonnet. So going and creating a really nice path in here. Okay, also take the last anchor point again, you want to take it up, so it's getting this really sharp edge here, and maybe somewhere over here going to create just selection like that, and all the way to the top till here. Yeah, completing the path again, right click, make a selection, zero feathering, okay. And now on the dodge and burn layer, we can also just rename this here, dodge and burn, create a new group, dodge and burn as well, D and B. Normally I just rename this to D and B, okay. So dodge and burn with B brush, not 100% opacity, because otherwise it's going to be super strong, as you guys will see now. Or if I switch the foreground colors, it's just too dark. So literally I'm just going to take it to 7% opacity here, and then just slowly brush over this as well, just with a very, very low feathered brush as well. The more I go over it, obviously the stronger it's going to get. So Command D, get out of the selection, and this I would do for certain areas just on the car, just to darken this little area. Then I would whiten this area, darken this, yeah, whatever, you get the point. Highlights, whiten, darken, in order to also get the shape of the car, not to have it too patchy, because otherwise if I'm going to do it just like this now, which I will do, so something like this, just brighten this area up a little bit. So sometimes like this it works now, but if you do it too much later, it looks too patchy on the car. So I wouldn't do it too much. There you guys can see it now, but like this big thing, you guys can see I'm painting actually on this. You see this paint stripe, so I don't want to do that. Maybe rather just a little bit smaller, and like with a path, just create an awesome path here. Also for this, for instance. Okay, something like that. Yeah, let's have to create the path a little bit smaller. So like that, and you can also feather this now. Okay, the curve is too intense for this little guy. Okay, something like that, create a path again, make a selection. You obviously have to be more precise than I am at the moment. B for the brush, white foreground color, and then I'm literally just brushing over this, bringing this highlight out really nicely. Command D again, before and after, before and after. If you do this over the whole car, it will pop like crazy. Okay, so what I want to do now as well for this side is just again with dodge and burn. I'm not going to do it with the paths method now. I'm literally just brushing over, as I mentioned earlier we shouldn't do. I'm just going to take my brush a little bit bigger, and I'm going to brighten it up a little bit more. Just literally one big brush. Okay, also going in here, brush again, and I'm switching again foreground colors, just black, and I'm literally just want to give a little bit of detail and blackness back to the car. Obviously it's also a shadow down here, so I'm going to darken overall a little bit. This little stripe a little bit over here. So I would go and create a really nice path just for this area, this sharp little thing here. Also round here at the back, don't make it straight. Okay, a little bit darker here as well. And zoom out a little bit. I'm also going to work a little bit here on the front. Just make this a bit darker. Okay, yeah, this is getting a bit more patchy now with the dodge and burn. Well, a little bit I can still do. I'm just doing it overall. Okay, you can also use again the curves method for this. Maybe let's actually do that. So I'm going to create a new adjustment layer. I'm going to still put it also curves adjustment layer, and I will also put this curves adjustment layer together with dodge and burn. So it's literally, I'm just darkening this all, and I'm not concentrating now on the overall image. I'm literally just looking at the grille here, at the window, and this little thing, maybe the wheels as well, just to get a bit more contrast in there. So again, invert this whole mask now, Command I, so it's hidden as well. B for the brush, white foreground color, and we can start out working maybe with 80% opacity. Just press 8 on the keyboard. Okay, Control Alt. So I don't want to feather the brush completely. Maybe my hardness around, say, 80%. Okay, also zoom in a bit closer. B for brush. Yeah, and now I'm just painting over here, and you guys can see it's really strong. Okay, brush that in. We can actually push the highlights a bit further, so maybe this will give the highlights a nice push. Okay, let's double tap here on the layer. We're going to push this up a bit, so it's just pushing the highlights. If the saturation is too strong, we can then again just apply another adjustment layer with hue and saturation. Clip this hue and saturation to this adjustment layer. Okay, and then take the saturation down. As you guys can see now, if I take it completely out, we don't have detail and color in here anymore. We still have detail but no color. So saturation maybe just to, yeah, say minus 20, 22. Okay, I'm going to go up again, and on this mask again, on the curves again, I'm just literally brushing in here. Okay, and again, if you want to work quicker, you can create also a path for this. And you already have, yeah, the nice light out here, and you don't need to sit like me now and be careful with the brushing. Again, a Compositing 4 or 5 Pro tablet helps quite a lot with this type of process. It's really literally a little bit easier then. Okay, and you can apply this now to the complete car. So everywhere we have a little bit of detail here, shadow and stuff. Sit and do this. Okay, I'm just going to do it a bit rougher now. Okay, now I need to switch again X foreground colors. I just have to clean up this little area over here. Okay, let's go into the grill. I'm trying to rush this, not too much. Okay, on the grill as well. And bear in mind, later when I'm done with all, I'm still going to add a last contrast layer and a last little bit of a flare gradient layer on top. So it's going to be a little bit lighter again. This is very contrasty at the moment. Okay, a little bit here. Okay, the window, we can also do it maybe on the forward side, so it just pops really nicely there. Okay, so you can complete that whole step for every little thing here that is black on the car. Maybe not too much, because you still want to have some nice light there from the back. Also, I'm going to do it actually on here. Okay, not doing too far into the car. X for foreground colors, switching that again. I'm going to take the opacity maybe 35 and just slowly brushing that back. Okay, zoom out again. Now, I don't want to go too far now, still into dodge and burning. You guys can sit here for hours and do this process. I just want to show you guys quickly again, dodge and burn the whole car and just make it a little bit nicer, and also overall adjustments. Also, you can do this again on the wheels as well. Let's just go in here. I'm going to take the brush normally, B for brush, and as well switch foreground colors. I'm working with the 35 opacity at the moment. Let's make it 50%. So I'm just darkening the wheel a little bit here, also at the bottom a bit. Inside, giving that a really nice dodge and burn here, also on the rim. And you guys can also now create another dodge and burn curves adjustment layer just for all the white areas, so you're basically giving it a highlight push. Okay, the same for the back. You guys get the idea now. You can literally sit here for ages and just do this. And there is also a little mistake here, as I can see at the back. So what I'm going to do is just go to sand again, sand group over here, and we have to go all the way. Let me just make this a bit bigger. To this sand group. Yep, and we have to brush out this. B for the brush, 100% opacity. I'm going to press Control Alt and make this super hard. Zoom a bit closer in here. And literally X foreground colors, switch that. I'm just going to brush this area out. There we go. Okay, zoom out again, that looks cleaner. Okay, so again, as you guys can see, tons of layers already, a few groups. So this is also a method how I work, just always create a few more groups. yeah, and make this my life a little bit easier. What I also wanted to do still in the shadow area over here is create another layer with shadow 2 maybe, or shadow, yeah, let's take this shadow 1, and I'm going to rename this to shadow 2. B for the brush, I'm going to take a 10% opacity and just black foreground color, Control Alt. I'm going to make the brush really soft, so hardness, yeah, almost set to 0. Zoom in a bit closer, and with the brush I'm literally just going to make one big flow over here, just darkening this area a bit more, and as well over here. B for the brush again, a little bit over the wheel here, just make it a bit smaller. Okay, here we still wanted to darken this a bit, and also in the foreground. Okay, you can now control it in two ways. First of all, obviously with your opacity from the brush and doing small consistent strokes, or from the mask here, or sorry, from the layer, still taking the opacity, then again once down just to say 60%. I'm going to create a mask on that, B for brush again. Now I'm going to clean up the car because we obviously painted it over the car as well. 100% opacity, black foreground color, zoom in, B for brush. Okay, we're just going to paint not over the sand, just over the car. Just a little bit here. Bringing the car pop again back. I could actually still sit here for hours and just do dodge and burning on the car to bring it out really nice. There's so nice details in here to let it pop really nicely. Okay, one more thing that I want to do for the sand at the moment. I'm going to go back to sand layer again, create a new group over here, and call this sand color. Okay, on sand color, what I want to do is as well add, we can actually start working with just the normal pen tool again. I'm literally just going to make a rough selection around here, something like that. First path, then as well I'm going to create a path in here. Okay, and the light should go like this somehow. Okay, and I'm also going to create another path over here, just roughly doing it over here. Okay, going like that. Okay, so I created 3 paths now. Right click, make a selection. Feathering, we can actually feather it now. I'm going to blur it afterwards again, so 0 feathering for the moment. Then as well in sand color, new group, new layer in here. And on this layer, what I'm going to do is press also M for marking tool. Right click again and fill this with a color. So contents, I'm going to go to color and as well go back to some orange color. Let's maybe go with the color picker here on the actual ground, so it's a bit browner. Let's maybe try it over here. That's getting just too light. I'm looking for really nice orange color, so no, I'm going to pick my own color, something like that. Okay, and we have the new color. Command D. I'm going to go to filter and blur, Gaussian blur, and we're going to blur this completely, so really soft, maybe also 40%. Okay, and let's also now take the opacity all the way down. And also it's switched to normal still. The blending option should be on a color. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so now we're going to take the opacity just to 9% before and after. Maybe you can actually push it a bit further. I'm going to zoom out a little bit for that. So again, before and after. I'm just doing it really quickly now. Spend a bit more time when you do this. This will also show the shadow a little bit more, and you have a bit more different color again in the shadow, a bit more magentas. Okay, there you guys can see it now. It just reveals the shadow a little bit further. Okay, something like that. Maybe it's a bit too strong though. We can see if we do an overall color adjustment. Okay, so that's all for the sand color. Let's go back to dodge and burn. I still want to show you guys the last step here, which I would do on the windows. Obviously we have a bit of shadow, or not shadow, like detail from the mountains or something from the background in the windows, and then at the top we've got to light the sky. So I would go in and now with the pen tool again, create like an awesome path here around the window. Okay, again with the pen tool, just going all the way around. And maybe, yeah, it's over here. This looks a bit weird. I'm going to delete this point again, go a little bit deeper in. Okay, until up to here. one more. And we'll go a little bit further up. And further till to here. Also combining that. A little bit more down and completing the path. Okay, I've created a new path, right click, make a selection, zero feathering for this. This is important. Okay, zoom out a little bit. I'm going to create a new layer actually, or we can actually just there work in new groups. In here I'm going to write window. Now you have to repeat the step for every single window. So I'm going to do this for the front, for this one and obviously this one and the small one. And now it's very important to keep these, I'm going to do a gradient on top of this now to keep the gradient always in the same direction. You can't do the gradient this direction and this window then up. So let me show it to you guys. I'm going to go to the gradient picker and also just take black to white, and I'm going to start from the bottom with black and fading up to white. And then I'm going to do it a little bit longer so we have a bit more of gray here as well. And then I'm just going to press Command D. I don't need the selection, and I'm just literally taking the opacity all the way, say, to just 20% or something. Okay, before and after, and the edge is still a bit heavier. I didn't do it properly. I just went quickly with the path. Okay, and then you can also determine how you're going to do it with dodge and burn, and just bring a nice pop to the windows. So there you guys can see it. I would then also maybe zoom in, just go to the smudge tool over here. Actually your blurring tool, and with 100% opacity I'm just going to smudge again a little bit the edge here from the window. Okay, all the way down as well, just a bit here, but not at the bottom, just there. Okay, zoom out again. So again here, window, and if you repeat this step now, I'm going to write here window 2, because I think we had windows already, window 2. If you want to repeat this step now for every single window that you have on the car, it's going to pop really, really nice. Okay, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and that's so far everything that I retouched on this. So I can now still sit for almost an hour or two, and this is actually the pre-production already before I start now. Cloning out this cat, also adding a few more contrast on this and a little bit of a flare, which I'm going to show to you guys right now. I'm going to go to adjustments, and as well to a overall curves adjustment here. I'm going to take the overall darkness down a little bit, just giving a bit of contrast again, pushing the highlights. Okay, the saturation goes up quite a lot, so I'm going to go and create a new hue and saturation adjustment layer, take down the saturation just a bit, because I still want the pop of that curves adjustment layer. I'm also going to create a new group with these two layers. I just Command G, and I'm going to write here just color. Also going to go back to adjustments as well, go to selective color adjustment layer, and now my neutral tones, once again I'm just going to play a bit with the neutral tones. So literally I want to add a bit more magentas in this. Sorry, I'm not going to play with cyan, just with the magenta tones a bit. Just giving a bit more magenta in here. Okay, also the yellows up a bit, so it's a bit cooler. Maybe just a +2, take the magentas a little bit. Then I take the blacks up a little bit. So we flatten it a bit, but now go into the black channels and we're going to give it a bit more contrast. Okay, and also let's have a look if we play a bit with the cyan over here. Just pushing the cyan again a little bit over. -3. Okay, and these magentas just down, a little bit more magenta in the shadows. Okay, yellow. Okay, now it's just getting too yellowy thing there. I'm going to go back into the neutral tones again and take this magenta just down a little bit, +2, and the yellow as well, -2. Blacks again. This is obviously very creative, so you go back and forth and try your colors out until you are happy with them. So again, before and after, and we have more contrast now. So I'm also going to create another new curves adjustment layer and just push up my highlights a little bit. Sorry, the dark areas a little bit, so it's not too contrasty. Okay, because obviously we're still adding a flare on top, so that's why I want to make it a little bit lighter with the contrast as well. I still want to have contrast, but not too much. Okay, so this is all again for the color. Now as well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to select a gradient, and I'm literally going to just create a flare gradient on top of this. So I'm going to select G for the gradient tool. Also going to go into the gradient picker. I'm going to actually create a new gradient now. So literally just select the black and white. On the right hand side I want a white as my full color, So double tap on here, get into the color picker, I'm going to select white, okay. Over here, double tap on that, I want to switch everything to black, okay, because we're going to create a flare with a gradient, and then we're going to switch the blending options to screen so that it will actually show up. Okay, next step, I want to put a new color in here, double tap again to get into the color picker. And what we want to do is like get just literally a very whitish yellow color. So again, something like this. I'm going to move this actually a bit closer. I'm first have to hit OK here and take this guy so it feathers a little bit. And here at the back I also want to get a deep orange color, showcasing a little bit more the orange from the actual sun. Okay, something like that. Okay, and we can still play around now with this after or in the end when we do the flare. So this is again my new gradient that I just created. I'm going to write here now just maybe flare, hit new, and that will directly be added here. As you guys can see, I've already created two other ones as well. This was from the previous tutorial, so they are a little bit dark, a little bit browner, so I can still play with this. Hit OK, and I've got this gradient now. Then I'm also going to go down here to the adjustment layers again, and I'm going to select gradient, and as well I'm going to select the gradient that we just created, this one. But now as you guys can see, it's obviously overall. I don't want it overall. I want it to be in a, say OK here, I want it to be in a radial position, something like this. Okay, and also reverse this step. So as you guys can see now, it kind of looks like a sun. So in the center we have a nice sun flare, or a little sun, and then obviously all the flares going out in the rings. Hit OK, and as you guys can see, it is also on a black, or it is black in the background, so we can just literally switch the blending options all the way to screen, and there we already have our flare in here. So I'm going to hit right click as well now, go to rasterize, and to move this around, because otherwise I can't move the flare around. It's literally just centered in the center. So press V for move tool, and I'm literally just going to move it up here to the top. And it's a bit intense, bit strong, so I can still take the opacity down just a little bit, say to around 80%. Also Command T, make this a bit bigger, so we have a bit more flare going on. Okay. And there we already have our flare right on top. We can still take this down a bit further. We can actually duplicate this, create this a little bit lower, so we have still something in the center. Okay, I'm just have to go work on this mask a little bit with B brush. Big brush, Control Alt, I'm feathering completely my brush now. Black foreground color, and I'm literally just fading this out a bit. So it's a bit brighter at the top. Okay, let that render, and then we have it now a little bit center, it's a bit more brighter than the outside. Okay, also if this is not kind of the color you wanted for the flare, bear in mind you can always just go back here on the gradient again, and then you can tweak your colors here a little bit. You can also create more color changes in here, so it's a bit, say, darker yellow, a bit more of a richer orange as well. So you can play with this, like also for instance this was my other gradient that I've created with a few more little dots in here, so obviously a little bit more lighter yellow, then an orange, and a deep dark orange. Okay, so that's also all for gradient. I'm going to press Command G, create these two now in a group, and we're going to write here flare as well. Okay, last step that I'm still going to do is create just a new color. Let's go to the adjustment layers here, solid color. I'm going to pick a more deeper orange, dark orange. Okay, going to switch this now to color blending option and take it overall just a little bit down, say 4%. So it just gives the overall image a little bit of a yellow tint. If you're not too happy with the yellow here shining through on the blue car, then as well bear in mind you can go here onto the mask, B with brush. I'm going to take, say, just around 30 or 20% opacity, black foreground color, and I'm literally just brushing it out a little bit here on the car. Okay, great. Now last step that I still want to do is also, let's take the flare. We can actually move this color within there with the flare. Okay, I'm going to press C to crop this a little bit, and I'm going to take just down this up here a little bit, and this also a little bit. Okay, a little bit further. Accept that, and there we go, our new adjustment here for the car. Okay, so that's so far everything. Most probably after this tutorial, before I give it in or whatever, still retouch. Obviously I had to retouch and clean up the city a little bit, do a bit of dodge and burning still on here, give the background also a really nice highlight still, the horizon. And that's basically it. Then it's ready to save. Now bear in mind also I didn't show all of the things on the window, so that you can still do. You can still spend more time dodge and burning the car and working again a little bit more on the small little details on the car. Yeah, but that's so far all for the tutorial. Whew, yeah, so this is what a 1 hour Photoshop tutorial looks like. Okay guys, so anyways, if you enjoyed this tutorial, please hit me up with a thumbs. As well, do share this with all your friends, put it on your blogs, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. The stuff is here for you guys, so share it. Then as well, don't forget, you can always ask me questions as well in the comment box down below, or ask stuff there as well, give me feedback about the tutorial. And yeah, then as well, don't forget, on Thursday we have again question and answer / advice day. So I'm giving some feedback there for you guys and we're answering your questions. And that's basically all for this week. So hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time for a new Photoshop tutorial. Bye bye.